Welcome to Real Money Talks. Real strategies from the moneymakers and the world changers that you can use to make millions, keep those millions, multiply your wealth, and build your team. Here's your host, author of 5 New York Times bestsellers, money expert on Dr. Phil, CNN, CNBC, The Street TV, Fox News, and The View, Laurel Langmeyer.
Hi, I'm Dawn DeKeyser, and today I'm talking to Laurel Langmeyer, who's a money expert, sought-after speaker, entrepreneurial thought leader, and she is also a five-time New York Times bestselling author of the Millionaire Maker series. She's a founder of Integrated Wealth Systems, and she's also hosting Gen W, which is an upcoming conference on building generational wealth. By the way, this is the only event of its kind that is out there, and it takes this 360-degree point of view of all of your finances. And they talk about creating, sustaining, and protecting your family's wealth for generations to come. And my experience here in Hollywood is that the thing that we need to discuss more is about how to use your left brain in a right brain industry. So welcome, Laurel.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Appreciate it.
Great to have you. So I want to jump right in and talk about things that have changed my life already by working with you and your team. And the first topic that I think is so relevant is the wealth cycle versus a lifestyle cycle that many of us are in.
Yes. And I made up those terms to help people describe the pattern of money that we were taught versus what's going to work for them. So what we're taught, right, is go to school, get good grades, like we were just talking about before the interview, pack money into your 529 so you can get ready for college. That doesn't work. There's so many things that don't work the way that traditionally been taught. Yeah. And so I call that a lifestyle cycle, because what happens to most people, 16, they get a car, whether they buy it or not. 18, they become an adult. And then they start getting credit cards, whether they get a home. Mostly they amass credit card or student loan debt or some sort of a beginning life debt, because no one knows how to do that right. So my last book, right, the Make Your Kids Millionaires, teaches you exactly the step-by-step how to do that properly so you don't end up there. But then what happens for most people, Dawn, and you see it in Hollywood, you see it all over, is you end up with a big liability column. So your liability is everything that you owe other people. Your expenses is what you pay per month. So the lifestyle cycle is what people worry about. They spend enormous amount of their time and energy focused on what do I owe, what do I owe, what do I owe? And the excuse I hear a lot of times when people want to come to be a millionaire is, I'll call you when I'm out of debt. And I said, no, I'm going to get you into good debt. So you don't even understand debt properly. Debt's the cost of money. So people are consumed by what I call this lifestyle cycle of just how they spend money and being in debt versus what I call wealth cycle. If you would take a portion of your energy, right? Now it's in the movie, The Secret. So I always call this money conditioning, right? You want to strengthen your money muscles by focusing more on your income. What could you do to create more income? And with that income, you have to oversee your asset column. You have to oversee how you're investing. So income to assets, assets invested right back for passive income creates an awesome active to passive money cycle. And that is where the wealthy live. Most people don't have any clue or spend any time there. They spend time on, they worry about their debt, their liability, what they owe, and they're focused on the completely wrong thing.
Yeah.
So that pattern has got to be broken. If you want to be a millionaire, the pattern is make, invest instead of worrying about make, spend. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of a simple way to say that.
Yeah, that's great. And when you're talking about make, spend, the make part of this, yeah. Many of my friends were very good at making money, but one thing that has really resonated with me is when you're talking about building multiple streams of revenue, and specifically the way you talk about it is cash machines. And I've got to say, this is a critical component of the wealth cycle. You've got 12 building blocks for the wealth cycle, and one of them is cash machines and how to sort of close that gap. Yep. For those of us who work in a feast or famine business. So can you talk a little bit about cash machines?
Absolutely. And here, what Dawn's talking about is in my Millionaire Maker. And I would be happy to share, with you, all of your audience, ebook copy of this. But on page 11 is the sequencing blocks. And so sequencing means doing the right thing at the right time. So a little backstory. I grew up in Nebraska on a farm, had no information like this, read Think and Grow Rich at 17. Fast forward, I was blessed to work at 1996 on the Rich Dad Poor Dad team. So I was part of that team. In 2000, went on my own because I'd become a millionaire in 99. So 1999, I got pregnant with my son. 6 months later, became a millionaire in real estate. Right after that, I was a millionaire in gas and oil as well. So I hit 2 big millionaire tickets, check boxes really quickly when I got focused and committed. So I want to share that backstory a little bit so everyone understands you all can do this. And especially anyone in Hollywood or even starting to work with pro athletes and even college, coaches, anyone who's making a lot of money. The challenge is that when you make a lot of money and you don't have a company, like a different kind of company, or you segment your extra, activities where you have a business and a job. Because if you're paid as in a job, your paycheck, as you all know, you are going to have FICA taken out, your Social Security, like you make money, you get taxed, you get to live on what's left. If you live more entrepreneurially, what I call corporate life, you make money in your business. So your cash machine, as Dawn's referring to, for those of you listening, is a business. It's a small, medium-sized business that you're going to get up and make money. And the reason that's critical is because without a company, not a solopreneur, not being paid as 1099, paying your company, now you can activate 81,000 pages of tax code. So for example, you shouldn't be paying for this. Your company should. You should be paying from the computer you're watching this from. Your company should. You should. The vehicle that is out wherever you live should be a company expense. You should have housing expense. You should have. There's so many things, especially with Hollywood actors. Glenn Morshower is one of my dearest friends, and like, I know how you guys get paid. I know how you make money. And if you don't implement the strategies that I'm talking about, it's just an endless cycle of having to go get another gig, get another gig, get another gig, and not put your money away. So on the side, and I know some people hear that immediately and say, well, I don't have any side time. You do. And all of you have followers on the internet. You do influencer things on the internet, but you're not putting your money in the right bank account. So as you know, Dawn, I'm super practical. I think that's my farm girl stuff, right? Where if the money doesn't come in right and then get spent right, you don't get to activate any of these strategies we're talking about. And that is, so how you make it and how you spend it is imperative. And that's how we start. We really start at that grassroots, place of what do you personally pay for? What does Dawn pay for? What does Dawn's company pay for? And then if you bought real estate, what does that company pay for? And it just keeps getting broader and broader, and you grow into wealth through a very systematic process.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And the idea of when you talk about side businesses, people sort of recoil from that I know of. And it's not, it's a great thing to be able to start building up now, because we are talented. And one of the things in the summit is about tap into your talent, lose that ego of I'm a big shot TV writer or something, lose that and start bringing in cash. And then the other thing that you said is about when you bring it in, where do you put it? Yeah. And I swear when I found you guys, it was a game changer for me, because I and my friends, we have proven that we are high wage earners. Yeah. But then what? And that we haven't had that, but then what? And you also mentioned you had your son in 1999, and you, how was it that you got him up and into college? Like, that's a whole other. It's a whole thing. I want to talk about that in a minute. I want to go back to one thing because if they recoil from that side hustle, an extra thing to do, I'm just going to tell you, you're already doing it. You have intellectual property. If you're a writer, you could write these books. The writer who wrote my books, these are New York Times books, made $100,000 per book. So writing is outside of your industry. I know there's rules around that, but there's so much intellectual property, your followers, your sponsorship. There's so many things that will teach you how to do that. You can actually do this. Like, you're already doing it. You're doing it wrong. I'll just say that. So when it comes to my son, I raised him as a single mom. Now, I got married for a minute and then had a beautiful daughter. So I have now about a 16-year-old and a 23-year-old. So fast forward, I got kind of talked to about those 529s and all of that. But the truth is, and especially now post-pandemic, a lot of these kids are very entrepreneurial and they're not going to go to school, which means that money is not usable at all. Like you have to use it for school. So if you're raising more of an entrepreneurial child, then you're going to have all sorts of issues of putting that money away. And how are you going to get extracted? That's a whole nother game and a strategy I'll teach you if you did do that to yourself. Anyway, so what I did with my son, because he wanted to be a CPA. I didn't know that going into school, but he went way away, went to Florida. We live in Lake Tahoe, Nevada.
And he went to Jacksonville, Florida, to the Harvard of the South, they call it, and they started accounting and finance. And he just graduated. He transferred to Georgia Southern. He's a football player. So he went on big scholarships. But I'm getting to the point of how I went to school is now I'm traveling back and forth across the country because he's a football player, right? He gets great grades. So he's a scholar athlete of Georgia now. But what's interesting is he just graduated with an accounting and a bachelor's degree in May of 2022. And now he's in his master's of accounting and he'll become a CPA, and he's still playing football. I just got back from Georgia and I went to see my partner, who's also my son. So at 18 years old, I signed him into our real estate LLCs, and he got an LLC for his birthday. That's how it works in our family. So my daughter, when she's 18, will get an LLC. So I become partners with my children, which is a very, very strategic thing to do. And a lot of you, no one's told you this. Well, probably the reason I'm so passionate about what I do, and I continue, I'll do it. You know, Bob Proctor was a dear friend of mine and partner, and I'll work like he did till the day he walks off the planet, because I'm just so passionate about this, because you're not taught any of these strategies. So now, instead of me having an expense and no business reason to go across the country to see my son, I go see my son play ball. And I actually do a lot of pro bono work for the football team. Now the basketball team, teach them financial literacy. So that's a write-off. My trip is a write-off because we're having business meetings when I'm there. That is all legally structured by the IRS. So I now go have business meetings. When he comes back this way, we have business meetings because now we're in partnership together. So 529s are interesting. LLCs, S Corp, C Corps, trusts, the way that we structure your life. And I have a huge team around me. As you are meeting, Dawn, they're amazing. Yeah. And no one's ever assembled a team of, you know, what I call disconnected financial services, because the financial services world is extremely disconnected. Like, you may be able to find the people I put on my team, a great CPA, a lawyer, a real estate, you know, professional, a crypto expert, you know, stock professional, an alternative financial planner. You can probably go out and find them all, but how are you going to navigate them? How are you going to talk to them when you're the least educated about money on the team? So that's why I exist, is to educate you. I'm like your advocate next to you to say, this is what you have to do. You need all those people, but they're there for one thing: to sell you something, take it away, get commission, and go home. That is not what we're going to do. We're going to get you super educated so you start leading. You start having the strength of knowing you're creating a wealth plan for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I can't tell you how much I love this. This is why I'm going to the Gen W conference. The thing that you said about all of these financial people that you need in your life, being so disconnected, that's been the experience my whole life. What I've experienced in joining integrated wealth systems is that I didn't know the importance of a certain type of insurance, and the difference between one entity and the other, and how they are going to license to each other and communicate. So that's been really incredible. I want to talk about leading up to the Gen W. Is there's something you talk about called sequencing? Yeah. And does it have to do with your 12 blocks of building wealth? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, so there's 12 parts that I broke down in the Millionaire Maker of how to build wealth. Mm-hmm. And the beginning is just knowing where you are, right? I call it a gap analysis. So knowing your baseline, where are you? And then what do you want? And what you want is a cash flow number per month. That's the goal setting. So I don't go for the millionaire status, the 2 or the 5 or the 100 or the billion. That's all interesting. But what you need sustainably that you want per month in cash flow, because cash flow is, if they always say, Dawn, you know, cash is king. I say, well, cash flow is queen, because we're running the place, because we're going to run the place, and cash flow will run your life. And the lack of cash flow is while most people in Hollywood go up and down, right? They got to go get a gig, and then they burn their cash, and they got to get a gig. Real estate, same thing. Insurance agents. I mean, there's so many businesses and industries that create chaotic cash flow. So one of the things that we look at is, how do you stabilize it? By having that extra business, because companies make money. Here's what I want you to write down, all of you. Companies make money, right? Your LLC. So when money comes in, it needs to come into a company, because individuals get taxed. And it's not that your company doesn't get taxed, but you as an individual, you have no legal right to write off this phone. Zero, none. Now, as a sole proprietor, you can maybe do a little tiny bit of it. But as a business owner, and a full-fledged business owner, I mean, like, the other thing I'm going to invite you all to think about is, instead of having a personal life and a professional life, you have a life. And it's a successful entrepreneurial life. and a wealth building life. And that, if that's the goal and it's integrated, which is why we call it integrated wealth systems, then you're going for one goal, and that's for you, your family. And why I created this Gen W conference is it doesn't exist. Never, ever, ever. I mean, we looked everywhere. It doesn't exist. What happens when people say, I'm doing a generational wealth conference, it's usually led by an estate lawyer who sells you a trust, and that's it. And you're out. And sometimes that might be good. Sometimes, well, you have to have a trust. You can't just have a will. You have to have a trust, or everything that you make is going to go to probate, and the state's going to take 40 to 50% of it. Yeah. So that's not enough, though, because you have to have the corporate structure, you have to have the compliance and the funding, you have to have the right insurance, and you have to have the right tax strategy. Because if you're gifting your children throughout their lifetime, at the end, it all rolls up into one big tax bundle that somebody has to look at. So I call it my big five, my big power team of five, and I'm bringing them all together. You're going to write them in the first page of your legacy journal, and you're going to write down when you pass, because you don't know when your expiration date is. These are the first 5 people that get called. And these 5 people, guess what? They all know each other. They've all met. We were all together in one room while you made your plan that they're going to continue to execute for you and your family and just be available. You're going to have their cell phone numbers. You're going to be totally connected to a team to know that this piece of your life has been handled properly. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of that team will continue to work with you throughout your life as all sorts of things happen. Like if your kids get married, if somebody passes, what happens? If you get a health illness, what happens? I mean, every day you're encountering a money issue, that we're not taught like that, Dawn. We're taught if you got to make money, go get a job. If you need more money, get another job. I mean, what a ridiculous premise to think, but that's what we're taught. And even today, my son would say, who, like I said, is in his master's level of accounting, he has never been taught what I teach, because they teach theory. They teach, and I'm a fan of school. I mean, Logan had to do it because Logan wants to be a great CPA, and I'm a fan of how he was taught, but he wasn't taught to be an entrepreneur. That's not their job. Their job isn't to make you a millionaire. Like Susie Orman and Dave Ramsey, their job is to make you safe and stable. They don't promise this. Yeah, I promise this, and I promise this in 3 to 5 years if you do everything I say. And you Hollywood folks could easily be millionaires. Easily. I know how much money you guys make, but you're spending it wrong, and honestly, you're making it wrong. Your contracts aren't organized in a way that you can actually activate a lot of these strategies. So that's what I love about the work that I do, and I love that you're a client, and we're going to get you on your way, and it will be a very different way of living.
Yeah, it definitely will be. And one thing that I want to say to everyone is that it may sound complex, and Laurel is throwing so much information at you, but it is not that complex, because what they do is they do take you step by step. The book that she's going to share, there's a workbook that goes with it. I am deep into that. And it's not nearly as complicated as it may sound at the moment. So that's another thing that the conference is going to be able to do, is walk you step by step through and have your team talking to each other. Yep. And and like you said, there isn't anything out there like it. And I think it's amazing.
No, I mean, so what normally happens, and you can find all those people, like you can go back and rewind our recording and say, okay, I have one of those, I can promise you it's hard to find a real compliance and funding, person who really makes sure that all the I's are dotted, T's crossed, the right notaries, the right corporate seals. Like and here's the challenge, Dawn. It drives me crazy when I hear people say this. I already got this done. I have my accountant, my lawyer, they're handling it. I'm like, you have no idea. I about want to pass out when I hear they're handling it. They got their fees from you. Absolutely. And you probably have the vehicle set up, but are you doing it right? Because at the end of the day, right, when your expiration day is up, or if you're ever audited, guess what they're coming for? They're coming for the paperwork. That's the first thing they're going to ask for. And if your paperwork and your books aren't clean and corporately done right, none of this mattered that you actually made a bunch of money. And then you can go back and say, well, lawyer, you didn't do, I thought you had it handled. They're protected because they have a license, right? You go to the CPA, same problem. So it's why I didn't get licensed. And I actually surround myself with the licensed people. The difference is that everyone stays in their lane and they play on behalf of the client. That's the shift in focus. It's not about them getting their, trust fee because they got a trust with you, or a corporation fee or an insurance fee or whatever they're getting. It's not about that. It's about, yes, you're going to get that because everyone needs those things. It's do you, who we're talking to right now on this recording, have a plan that you are proud of, that you're leading, not led by them, led by you. This is what you want. Like the Rockefellers are the best family example of owning nothing and controlling it all. And now still for, I mean, generations and generations. And there are so many families that you can make a lot of money and hand it to your little kids, and you didn't train your kids. So guess what? They're going to buy cars, big screen TVs, and all this other tchotchkes. And by the time your grandkids are born, most people's generational wealth or money's gone. So my goal is to change, like to attack that problem. First of all, when you make it right, spend it right, put it away right, and have a team around you that actually is experts. And you're not wandering around the internet hoping and hunting and pecking for people that don't talk to each other. They may be cheaper. I can tell you that. You can find all sorts of cheap stuff, but you get what you pay for. And yeah, try to get anybody to pick up those phone calls, right, Dawn?
Yeah, no, I was experiencing that last week. I asked Scott, who's helping me put the LLC together, I said, what is preventing me from filing with Swift filings for $500? And I said, it's very seductive. And he said, because no, you will get no follow-up. You won't get this entire team that is going to be working with you. So yeah, I was totally convinced.
And I want to follow that through though, because I actually had him do this because we are doing, like I said, a lot of pro bono for student athletes, and then especially the athletes going on to a pro, where they're all of a sudden going to have a big paycheck. They are the most critically prime target for a whole bunch of scavengers on the internet to go get them and get their new money. And they don't know. So that's why I'm doing so much work educating them, is where the money goes. How do you do that? And I told Scott, I said, so, we charge $2,000 for an LLC and then appropriate fees. And of course, if you're in California, we're going to make a huge case for you possibly having also a Nevada company or a Texas company or Wyoming company. I mean, we're really there's a whole talking to, and that's when you call LegalZoom. Well, first of all, you don't call, you just go online and you hope you click the right buttons. When you're done getting everything you need from a document standpoint, a corporate binder, stock certificates, the corporate seal, the articles of incorporation, all those things, you're at $1,800 anyway, and you have had no help. Yeah. Then you call in and say, oh, I need help. Oh, lawyers are $250 an hour to $500 an hour. So then you're like, don't want to pay for that. I'm already more. So even though it sounds like it's a lot, you have an endless follow-up process. And guess what? You actually get our cell phones. That's how high touch we are. We really want to serve and help people and get it done the right way.
Yeah. That's evident. That's really wonderful. Is there anything that you want to say about the conferences coming up? It's going to be October 26th through the 28th in Reno, Nevada. And when I know that you have great hotel deals and it's all very doable. Is there anything that you want to say in summation to that?
Get on a plane. So the morning of the 26th, you get on a plane out of LA, Burbank, wherever you are, San Diego. And the conference registration starts at noon. We did that intentionally because I actually take that flight from Georgia or Florida. So I could get to Reno by noon. That's what I end up doing. So I knew I could do that. We start at 1:00 at the Grand Sierra Resort. We have amazing, conference and hotel. Not only booking, but the restaurants are phenomenal there. There's tons to do for kids. We're actually going to put a nanny link, a couple of them on the site. We can't be responsible for them, but bring your kids, bring your family, stay an extra couple days, stay through the weekend, run up to Lake Tahoe, have some fun. Then from 1 to 6, we go. And I'm going to tell you, it's not just about meeting the legal and the finance teams. It's about how do you have a conversation with your family? Actually, I have somebody that's going to come talk about critical communication with your family. I'm going to talk about just your family legacy. We're going to do a values and mission. And some of you say, well, I'm not ready for that. You have to be ready for this. If you're a parent, you owe this to your kids. I mean, why amass this wealth? Right. And I know Hollywood. I had nannies. I mean, I had to have a nanny, so single mom. Right. So I get that game. But it's not their job to raise them. It's not their job to have this plan. It's your job to raise them to be responsible, to be consequence driven, to really understand. Like my kids started setting goals at 3 years old. They had companies at 4 years old, right? They had car accounts at 10 years old. They knew cost of goods and margin at 10 years old. I mean, you got to raise your kids to be able to sustain the wealth you're creating. Unless you just don't care about it and just give it to charity or give it to the state. And so the only people who shouldn't come, Dawn, are the people who just don't care. But if you're really doing this because you want to set your family up for life, you have to be responsible. And it's 24 hours of content. We start at 1:00 on Wednesday. We're done by 3:00 on Friday. So you can get back on a plane. It's literally 3 days of your life to fly in and fly out, get all this done, and then have a team on the first page of your ledger that says, all right, this is what's going to happen. And now you know you're set. And yes, you're going to have all sorts of follow-ups because we're not going to get it all done in 2 days. You're not going to make every decision in 2 days, but you got to talk about powers of attorney and wills of trust. So it's going to be cool. And then the last day, I have to just brag, I'm so excited and we are blessed, is we have Zig Ziglar's son, Tom Ziglar, as our final keynote to talk about legacy. And if you don't know who Zig Ziglar is, he was Tony Robbins' coach. He has coached, kings and queens of this world. I mean, Zig Ziglar is just a world-class gentleman and has raised an extraordinary family. And when he passed, I was blessed to be with him in his life. Tom and Julie and his family, we stayed in touch. And I said, Tom, it's time for us to come together. And he's going to give a breathtaking conversation about not only the Ziglar legacy and how they're doing it, just how you can do it. And he says this, and I'll end with this. There's two parts of a legacy. There's the inheritance, which is the money and the stuff. Right. And then there is the character, the legacy. The true legacy is the character and the values of how you leave your family as you go. Like it's what you leave within them. It's not what they get. And I can tell you, it's a huge distinction that a lot of you just don't spend the time thinking about. So it's easy to put this day off and it's easy to put it off. So I put it together and I said, let's do it once. And we're only going to do it once. We will not repeat this event. We will be professionally recording it, but I can promise you, like Julie, Julie's going to be there. There's just so many people are going to be there. It's going to be fabulous. So the recording will come out at over $1,000. So it will be 10 times the value on a recording to be there afterwards, because I'm doing that stinger intentionally because I want you to meet the people who are going to take care of your life. Yeah. It is that important. And we are not live streaming because I want a safe zone. I want a very safe environment for very vulnerable conversations and what we're going to be talking about. I think it's really, really important. And so we will not be live streaming. We will be recording. And again, that'll come out starting at 997 or higher. We're not going to do that one lightly because I know what we have. I know what we're doing to change lives and to support lives. So you have to be serious and get on the plane.
Yeah. Laurel, thank you. I want to encourage the viewers to also follow Laurel on her YouTube channel, which she's got amazing content, and TikTok, more amazing content, and her books.
This is my YouTube channel. My YouTube is Laurel Langmeyer, the Millionaire Maker. So follow it. I'm there 5 days a week. In fact, yesterday I just did another 20 plus recordings. So we do them in a big bundle and put them out. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. My Instagram is @AskLaurel. AskLoral, and I got tons of books, buying books on Amazon or go to our website. But get in the conversation. I just lean in and learn. And like you said, it sounds complicated. So a lot of people are like, oh, I don't have time to deal with it. I'll just let my accountant deal with it. They're not dealing with what I'm going to help you deal with. And you have to lean in. This is your money, your life, your family, the ones you love. Don't leave them handicapped and stranded.
That's right. That's absolutely right. This is why I was so drawn to you and your team, because your mission is so clear and it is just not out there. It's hard to find, especially aggregated like you've done this. So I want to thank you so much for talking to us today. And I can't wait to see you in Reno, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Real Money Talks podcast. Your host has been Laurel Langmeyer, author of 5 New York Times bestsellers, money expert on Dr. Phil, CNN, CNBC, The Street TV, Fox News, and The View. Want to learn more about off-Wall Street investing, tax strategies, and multi-million-dollar business strategies? Visit liveoutloud.com/podcast for past episodes, show notes, and resources. For some special wealth-building gifts only for Laurel's podcast listeners, visit liveoutloud.com/podcast gifts. Do you have a burning question for Laurel? Visit asklaurel.com to submit your question, and it may just be covered on a podcast episode. So stay tuned and be sure to subscribe to get new episodes every week.